Salut et bienvenue dans une nouvelle vidéo. Alors cette semaine, comme on vous l'avait anticipé, on va consacrer cette vidéo à répondre à toutes les questions que vous nous avez posées. Donc vous avez été énormément à poster en commentaire des choses que vous voulez savoir sur nous, sur la maison, sur nos projets futurs. On va pas réussir à répondre à tout le monde, mais on va essayer donc de répondre à un maximum en essayant aussi de regrouper un petit peu vos questions par thème. Alors comme dans notre dernier Q&A, on va essayer aussi de répondre autant que possible aux questions dans la langue dans laquelle elles ont été posées. Donc en italien, français, anglais ou espagnol. Et on répondra en anglais aux questions qui ont été posées dans les autres langues. Voilà, donc on va commencer tout de suite par la première question.
First of all, we want to say thank you and answer to all people who are asking how we are. We are good now, thanks a lot, but to be honest, it hasn't been like this during the whole renovation. We had our up and downs like everyone, but I am just recovering from a pretty serious burnout due to the accumulation of work and anxiety linked to it. I'm a lot better now, but still not completely recovered. One thing that is really helping me is therapy. And this is the perfect time to introduce the paid partner of this video, BetterHelp.
BetterHelp is an online platform that connects you to credentialed therapists trained to listen and help you overcome your personal struggles. After answering a few questions, BetterHelp will match you with a professional who has experience helping people with similar struggles. The sessions then take place in however way you feel most comfortable with. It can be a phone call, a video call, messaging, and the interval between each session is decided together with your therapist according to your needs.
So, if you are interested, simply use the link in the description below and start answering the first questions. As I said before, I personally have worked with an online therapist for almost a year, and Vincent has recently started on his side. Therapy helps me and has helped me to recognize my emotions, to manage them, and to understand where they come from. Thanks to my psychologist, I am learning how to diffuse defensive tactics that I learned at a young age and which I've dragged on over the years. I appreciate the path we are taking because it helps me to know myself better and consequently to feel better.
I, for one, started therapy recently after feeling really overwhelmed by the amount of work we faced these past few months, both on the house and as architect. And my first session already helped me to individuate what I needed to work on. You don't need to wait for a burnout or for the peak of a crisis to seek for help and to take care of your mental health. If you're ready to take the step, you can already visit betterhelp.com/ateliermavi or choose Atelier Mavi during sign-up to enjoy a special discount on your first month.
Let's get back to your questions. How difficult has it been to combine those pressure with planning out the video needs? Has sharing your day-to-day forward steps with your viewers been a bonus for you to more fully realize how much work you have accomplished?
So I think the pressure we had about making the videos and sharing our renovation on YouTube has helped. It helped us in the sense that we had to be organized. We couldn't jump from one intervention to the other one, to painting the walls, then laying the floor, and do everything disorganized. We really had, in order to have enough content that made sense, that maybe showed a start and a finish, we had to be organized and always think, okay, this week we have to focus on laying the floor in the living room. And we always had to focus our work in intervention that also were manageable in only a week, because usually our week schedule was we had 4 to 5 days of work in the house, 1 day of editing, and then the next day was Sunday and the video was published. So it really it really implied to be organized, and I think in some way it helped us manage our work sites pretty well. And about the second question, yes, it also helped us realize what we accomplished, because just by watching a video we published a year ago, we could really realize everything that has been done in this amount of time. It's been a good help, and it helped us be motivated all along the construction, the renovation of the house.
Luego, muchos de vosotros nos piden si hemos pensado de poner energía solar. Contestamos que sí, seguramente. No la hemos puesto todavía por una cuestión de budget, porque no teníamos suficiente dinero para instalarlo ahora, pero seguramente hemos pensado por lo menos de instalar el solar térmico, es decir, los paneles que con su energía calientan la agua. No lo hemos instalado también porque no nos gustaría tenerlos en el techo, así que estamos pensando dónde posicionarlo, dónde ponerlos, y será seguro uno de los proyectos futuros. Una de esas preguntas que nos pide si utilizaremos la energía solar nos pide también si la casa necesita aire acondicionado. Dejo Vince contestar a esta pregunta.
Entonces, la casa no va a necesitar aire acondicionado, porque en todo nuestro proyecto hemos estado atentos siempre a bien isolar la casa. Ha estado un punto muy importante por nosotros. Entonces, el techo está muy bien aislado, los muros están bastante anchos. Hemos siempre también utilizado técnicas que permiten el cambio de vapor entre el exterior y el interior de la casa. Esto permite de tener siempre una percentual de humedad que es bastante estable, sea en invierno que en verano. Una otra cosa es que cuando empieza a hacer de verdad calor, porque es verdad que puede hacer calor, tenemos siempre estas ventanas en los 4 lados de la casa que podemos abrir para crear corrientes de aire. Nos ha pasado este verano, hemos hecho la experiencia, tener 35 grados fuera, pero abriendo las ventanas, tener un viento muy agradable dentro de la casa, que a veces casi, a mí casi tenía frío, pero fuera estaba a 35 grados.
Sí, por lo menos bajaba de, ahora no me acuerdo, pero 5 grados. La diferencia entre el fuera y el dentro era notable, era bastante, y sobre todo la sensación térmica era muy agradable dentro con el calor. Vamos a ver en invierno si funciona de la misma manera.
Esperamos que sí. So the next question is about languages. You seem to be fluent in so many. How did you learn them, and which language do you speak to each other in?
Okay, we speak together Spanish, but as you maybe have noticed, is not Spanish anymore, because it's a long time that both of us, we don't live in Spain, and so it's like a very weird language between us, a mix between Spanish, French and Italian. And English sometimes. We started speaking Spanish between each other because we met each other in a group of people that were speaking Spanish. Some of them were Mexicans, some of them Spanish, and some of them Italians who speak Spanish very well. So we started with Spanish and we never abandoned it. But right now I would prefer to speak Italian and French because I feel that my Spanish is not good anymore. And we speak other languages because basically we used to live abroad. Vince did Erasmus during university in Granada 1 year, and me, I did one Erasmus in Portugal, in Porto, and other 2 Erasmus in Spain, in Granada and Madrid. Thanks to this experience, all the Erasmus period abroad, I think we can easily talk or at least understand the main Latin languages in the Mediterranean. And for sure we have to improve, I think, our grammar, our pronunciation, but the most important things is that we can speak with someone else, some from other countries.
We are average in all of these languages.
Maintenant, une question en français. Quel est votre retour d'expérience sur la dalle en béton chanvre et les sols en tomate, perspirance et échange hygrométrie? Et la deuxième, quel est votre ressenti sur les murs en chaud chambre? Merci pour vos formidables partages vidéo, calme, posé et zen. Encore bravo.
Alors déjà, merci beaucoup. Alors ensuite, retour sur la dalle chaud-chanvre. On en parlera aussi dans une de vos prochaines questions. Alors la dalle chaud-chanvre, ça fait partie de ces interventions. Si c'était à refaire, on ferait peut-être différemment. Donc le chanvre, c'est un matériau qui peut souffrir de l'humidité. Et donc faire une dalle chaud-chanvre en rez-de-chaussée, ça peut être un petit peu risqué, puisque donc il peut y avoir des remontées d'humidité qui vont venir faire pourrir le chanvre, qui peuvent générer des odeurs. Donc dans notre cas, on n'est pas trop inquiet puisqu'on est dans une région où il pleut quand même pas énormément, que c'est une région qui est très sèche. Mais si c'était à refaire, on utiliserait sûrement d'autres matériaux, comme par exemple les billes d'argile expansées, ou on utiliserait des méthodes différentes. Par exemple, on aurait pu faire une dalle chaussable avec donc une épaisseur de panneau de liège, par exemple. Enfin bon, il y a plein de solutions différentes. En termes de ressenti, en revanche, donc on est assez satisfait puisque donc on n'a jamais eu de remontée d'humidité dans le bas des murs. Donc pour un peu résumer l'utilité d'une dalle chaud-chanvre, donc c'est une dalle perspirante qui va permettre à la vapeur d'eau de s'échapper de manière uniforme sur toute la surface du sol. Donc si on avait eu une dalle de béton par exemple sur toute la surface de notre sol, l'humidité qui serait venue de sous la dalle aurait eu un seul échappatoire, donc ça aurait été la base des murs. Et c'est pour ça que dans les vieilles bâtisses dans lesquelles on a fait des dalles béton, on voit souvent donc des marques d'humidité sur le bas des murs. Ensuite, sur les murs en chaud-chanvre. Donc sur l'enduit chaud-chanvre, donc c'est notre ressenti. On va dire que ça va être assez dur de parler de notre ressenti puisque c'est dur de voir à l'œil nu les bienfaits d'un enduit chaud-chanvre. On peut vous parler un petit peu d'esthétique. Donc sur l'esthétique, on est très content du rendu. Donc on a ce rendu rustique et très particulier. On voit encore les paillettes de chaud-chanvre. Un côté négatif peut-être, c'est que c'est un enduit qui est assez fragile. Donc ça nous est arrivé de donner des coups un petit peu dans l'enduit et ça a pu laisser des trous. Ensuite, fixer des objets dans cet enduit, c'est aussi un petit peu compliqué. Donc sur la question du ressenti et du confort thermique, comme on disait au sujet de la dalle chaud-chanvre, donc on est assez satisfait puisque le taux d'hygrométrie est très stable et donc on se trouve bien dans la maison en termes de confort thermique. Ensuite, il faut faire attention puisque c'est plutôt en hiver qu'on note des phénomènes d'humidité, qu'il peut y avoir plus de condensation aussi dans la maison puisque l'intérieur est chauffé alors que l'extérieur est froid. Then we have questions about the processes, the methods, techniques we used in our renovations and about the material we used, especially in the bathrooms or on the stone walls. and also why we chose, for example, the terracotta tiles on the floor.
As we said in the previous questions, we always wanted to choose natural materials that allows the house to breathe and also that are healthy for humans. So these were the main reason why we choose terracotta, lime, and hemp, and wood and stones. We focus on those principles, and we have tried to focus on this principle along all the way of our renovation, and especially also in our clients' projects. We have many questions about pointing of the stone walls outside. So Vince, do you want to answer?
Yes. So we will be pointing the walls outside, the stone walls outside. It was always planned, and this for a few reasons. So first, when it rains, if the rain is not completely vertical, it's always a little bit inclined like this. It's easier for the water to come in and to soak the clay mortar that is between the stones. So pointing will help the water to just run along the facade, and this will prevent the humidity to rise when it rains. Then there is also an issue with insects. We had some wasp nests and we had some hornets nest as well. We had some ants. So to prevent all these small insects to make their nest in our walls, it's going to be better to point them. To point the wall, we will probably use the same material as we used on this wall behind me, which is a ready-made mix made of NHL2 lime and sand.
And we didn't do this job during the summer because with high temperature it can create some cracks in the mortar, and this is the problem. It's better for us to wait until temperature low down in autumn and start pointing the stone walls.
La prossima domanda è se fosse da rifare, lo rifaresti? E cose che avresti fatto diversamente?
Allora, sicuramente sì, lo rifaremmo da capo, da rifare, forse con più esperienza e scegliendo forse materiali diversi, direi, in alcuni casi. Ad esempio, una cosa che faremo diversamente sicuramente è la scelta del Fermacell, non tanto perché non sia un buon materiale, ma perché richiede tantissimo lavoro. Quindi non so se vi ricordate, Vince ha passato giornate interminabili su il Fermacell tra la levigatura, la rasatura, lo stucco di finitura, la pittura, cioè è veramente intenso, soprattutto perché ha bisogno di viti speciali ed si rompe facilmente una lastra di Fermacell.
Le lastre pesano anche tanto, quindi sono difficili da installare, e c'è anche questa colla, la colla a posto Fermacell, che sicuramente non è molto ecologica.
Quindi sì, è ecologico il pannello in sé perché si tratta di gesso fibra, però viene incollato con questa colla che non è necessariamente ecologica. Un'alternativa forse ai pannelli di Fermacell, abbastanza compatibile con la ristrutturazione che abbiamo fatto, forse sarebbero stati i pannelli di argilla. Però hanno poi un metodo totalmente diverso. Avrebbero avuto altri limiti perché ad esempio non hanno la stessa resistenza di un pannello meccanica di un pannello in Fermacell, quindi quando ad esempio devo mettere un chiodo o un pensile o fissare un mobile al muro, se è una parete col Fermacell, il Fermacell resiste a tanto peso. Adesso non mi ricordo quanto.
Credo che sono 50 kg a punti di fissaggio, ma c'è anche la cosa che il Fermacell fa contravento sulla parete.
Esatto.
E invece un pannello di argilla non fa contravento, quindi avremmo dovuto aggiungere uno strato di USB, per esempio, per fare
controventare,
contravvento
esatto.
e sopra mettere il nostro pannello di argilla. La cosa pratica del pannello di argilla è che è direttamente intonacabile. Possiamo applicare direttamente il nostro intonaco di finitura sul pannello di argilla e non c'è tutto questo processo di levigatura, stuccatura, levigatura, stuccatura per avere una parete perfettamente liscia. Sicuramente il risultato finale sarebbe stato anche diverso, avremmo avuto una parete un po' più
grezza,
un po' più ruvida.
Forse più simile alle pareti intonacate con il nostro intonaco di calce canapa, quindi un po' più rustica, sì, esatto. Non avremmo avuto l'effetto liscio che vedete delle pareti in Fermacell. Quindi dipende anche poi dall'effetto che volete dare alle vostre pareti, a casa vostra.
Però questo detto, siamo molto contenti anche di come è venuto con il Fermacell. Era solo complicato.
Esatto, non esistono poi troppe scelte giuste o sbagliate, dipende sempre da quello che vogliamo ottenere poi alla fine. Diciamo che seguendo i nostri principi di materiali naturali, di scelta di materiali naturali, avevamo abbastanza possibilità di scelta. Ah sì, e poi un'altra scelta che avremmo fatto forse un po' diversa se avessimo avuto un budget più largo, più ampio, sarebbe stata quella di fare un tetto con legni più pregiati, quindi invece di fare il tetto come l'abbiamo fatto noi, con un semplice pino, magari scegliere un castagno o un larice, comunque un legno un po' più bello da vedersi e forse anche più resistente nel tempo. Then we have a question about unwanted guests, like snakes, spiders, and other dangerous animals.
So yes, we have snakes in the land around the house. They usually don't come inside the house. We also have spiders. They come inside the house. We have small insects, but usually we don't have poisonous insects here in Italy. We do have wasps and we do have hornets that could be dangerous if you have allergies. So we are careful about them, but that's it. So we also had a question about how is it to have a dog on a land that is not fenced. So it can be a little bit complicated, especially because we have so many wild boars, we have deers, we have foxes, smaller animals, but we also have wolves around here. And wild boars and wolves, that they can be a danger for a dog at night. Even though Caillou is a pretty big dog, when the night falls, let's say around 6, 7, all these animals, they start to come out of their hidings, and we can hear them around the house, and Caillou tends to run after them. So usually we try to keep Caillou inside or keep her tied with a long rope so she doesn't run after them like a crazy dog.
In the night.
Yeah, only in the night, because the rest of the time Caillou is free and she's just running around all day and playing with us and exploring the forest around.
Yeah, in the night she stays at home with us all the time. And I wanted to answer as well to all the comments about the bed of Caillou. We have a bed for Caillou and she's very comfortable in it. So don't worry that we treat her very, very well. She's our daughter.
She's well fed too. So we then have a few questions about the money it costed to renovate the house, and if we got into a balance between what we invested and what the house is worth now. So first of all, we don't know exactly what the house is worth, but with all the financial helps we had from the government, and also the fact that we did most of the work ourselves, we are pretty confident that the price of the house now is a lot higher than what we've invested into the house. We've already done one video, I think it's number 58, that details all the price of the materials and interventions we invested in for the first part of the house built, and we will probably do a second video detailing the prices for all the finishing materials that we use into the house. So you have all the informations you need. We then received a lot of questions about the garden and the outdoor spaces.
Okay, for the outside, we still need to do a lot of works. For example, we have to rebuild some section of the stone walls that fell down, improve our terraces, like maybe build a pergola, build out an outside kitchen, and also we are planning to build a small swimming pool. But this, it will be during, I don't know, this it will be in the future. And also maybe a small yoga deck that can allows you to stand and look to all the panoramic view we have. Manuel Trujillo asked this question. I was wondering about your internet service. You seems to be very remote. Uploading videos will take a lot of bandwidth.
So yes, it's true that with our jobs and the fact that we publish weekly videos on YouTube, we need a strong connection. And for this, we first contacted local internet distributors like Eolo. For those of you in Italy, you might have heard of them. So they are known because they provide internet in remote places like ours. But unfortunately, the technician that came here to do the installation, he couldn't find any service. He couldn't get any service up here. So after this, we turned towards satellite internet and towards Starlink, which we have now been using for 4 or 5 months, and it's been working really well. We can upload very big videos and long videos, and we have no issues doing video calls with our clients that are most of the time outside of Italy. The next questions are about building permits, building laws, and we have this one asking, many of the codes and techniques you used are specific to the region or municipality. Did any building codes change your solutions? Are there solutions you wanted that you had to redesign for?
Usually, we start designing our project taking into account all the main national building laws. For example, the minimum height, the minimum dimension that you have to respect for the rooms. And before to submit all the project to the municipality, we adapt the project to the regional and municipal laws. And in our case, they only ask to choose one particular kind of roof tiles. They ask us to use the flat ones instead of the more curved ones. And so it was the only change we had to do in the project. Yes.
On the same subject, we then have David asking how hard it had been to obtain permits and if we could easily change the aspect of the house, if it was under a historic heritage constraint or anything.
So we have no heritage historical constraint, but we have landscape constraint. So before to submit to the municipality the building permit, we had to submit another landscape permit to a regional commission. And this was not so hard, but it takes a lot of months. When you have to submit the landscape permit, in the best case, you have to wait at least 6 months to have the answer, to have the authorization. Normally, if you present a project that keep the house, the building as it is as much as possible, it's easier to get approved by the regional.
Still on the same subject, we had many questions asking us if we could build new buildings, new volumes on our land. And so the answer is no. We only had a small volume increase that was allowed, that was put into the roof height, but then we cannot build anything new on the land. Tenemos después a alguien que nos pide si discutimos mucho y si no discutimos, ¿cuál es el secreto?
Bueno, con respecto a este tema, os aseguramos que somos personas normales. Nosotros también discutimos muchos y no somos perfectos. No obstante lo que podéis ver en los vídeos, que todo parece bonito, con musiquitas, pero normalmente, como somos una pareja normal, nosotros también discutimos. La parte más difícil yo creo que es el hecho de tener el trabajo juntos, así que esto hace que somos no solo una pareja en la vida, pero también una pareja en el trabajo, y esto es muy difícil a organizar, a llevar adelante sin poner dentro todo lo que hay de más personal.
We then had a couple of questions about the access road. We do need to renovate the access road that leads to the house. And we have someone asking if the authorities, the municipality, will participate, will collaborate financially in the renovation of this road. So unfortunately, we already asked a couple of years ago, and we had a negative answer to our questions. I think because this road only leads to our house and then to the water tanks of the village. And so it's not an essential road, access road for the municipality. And being a small municipality, they also have very limited budget, so they have to choose where to invest. And considering we probably will never have any help from them to renovate the road, we will probably choose a cheap solution to fix it. So it's either going to be a layer of compacted gravel, it's called stabilizzato in Italian, or it will be a very temporary fix, just filling the holes with some gravels, which obviously are going to be washed away every time it rains, but it's going to be cheap. So we'll keep you updated when we start this project in the next few months.
A few people ask about our connection between us and the neighbors. How connected do you feel to the next neighbors and village? We feel that we have started with the right foot, because once we move inside the house and we started living here, we organized a small aperitivo for everyone. We invited everyone, and we had the chance to meet some of village inhabitants. They are all so nice. Everyone brings something to eat or a gift to welcome us in the village. And for now, I have the good feeling that we are in a very nice place. Mafalda Mallerus is asking, hello, what are the benefits help in Italy for restoring a house for foreigners? Right now in Italy, we still have a lot of financial aid if you want to restore a house. But the problem is that if before everyone could benefit of this kind of financial aid, right now, the only people that can benefit of that financial aid are people that are paying taxes in Italy. So basically, it means that you have to live in Italy and work in Italy, because with the tax credit system, they reduce your tax. If you don't have any tax to pay in Italy, you can't benefit of the help.
Okay, we then have 9 questions from Björn. I think we've answered most of them except number 6 maybe. how far is the nearest supermarket? So the nearest supermarket is on the coast, which is approximately 15 minutes away. On a ensuite une question en français de Candro, donc la numéro 3 notamment. Trouvez-vous les matériaux pour vos travaux facilement? Alors ça dépend tout simplement des matériaux. Dans notre cas, on utilise pas mal de matériaux naturels. C'est des matériaux qui sont un petit peu, on va dire, alternatifs. Et donc, c'est pas toujours facile de les trouver, et en particulier dans cette région, la Ligurie. Par exemple, la chaux et le chanvre sont pas des matériaux qu'on trouve facilement dans les alentours, mais on arrive quand même à trouver des fournisseurs qui peuvent nous les envoyer, assez facilement. Donc ça demande juste un petit peu plus de travail et un peu de communication avec ces fournisseurs-là.
Luego nos preguntan si estamos haciendo algún otro proyecto de restauración como arquitectos. Bueno, sí, estamos siguiendo algunos proyectos para clientes. La cosa que nos gusta es que por fin nos están llegando preguntas de renovaciones muy parecidas a lo que nos gusta hacer. Entonces, es decir, renovaciones de casas en piedras con una historia detrás en contextos rurales parecidas a la renovación que hemos hecho por nuestra casa. Así que la plataforma de YouTube nos está permitiendo de seleccionar más el tipo de proyectos en los cuales queremos trabajar, y esto nos gusta mucho porque antes, como jóvenes arquitectos, no teníamos mucho la capacidad de elegir el tipo de cliente que nos llegaba, y teníamos renovaciones de cualquier tipo que no necesariamente respetaban nuestros gustos personales y nuestros deseos.
So this video is coming to an end. We couldn't answer to all of your questions. Sorry for the one we didn't mention, but there was just so many of them, both on Instagram and on YouTube. So thank you so much to all of you for your comments. We can also say a couple of words about the house and about the future of this channel. So as you've seen in the last videos, the house is almost finished and there is not much left inside. There is still a lot of work outside and there are still some things to do inside, but I will be slowly starting to work more and more as an architect with Madi on your projects, and this means that we will have a lot less time to also edit the video and to work on the house. So we will probably propose 2 videos or maybe 1 video a month on our progresses on the renovation. This said, we will also start doing a new kind of contents. You've already seen the video Madi uploaded these past few weeks about the building permits in Italy. There will also be a new kind of contents maybe on our client's project. We are very excited for this new era to start. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.
Bye!